Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've got two open letters on Supreme Court nominee, Appellate Court Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. We got one from her daughter, and we got one, at least in part, on her from Charles Blow at the New York Times. Amy, why don't we go with her daughter first?
Her daughter wrote President Obama a letter back when there was a Supreme Court opening. Of course, Barack Obama chose Merrick Garland, but
and thank gosh McConnell blocked him. Go ahead.
Yeah, and to think, but her daughter tried.
To which Layla responded, well, if the president has to find you, I'm going to write him a letter to tell him who you are. She trotted off, and she came back a little while later with the following handwritten note. Dear Mr. President, while you are considering judges to fill Justice Scalia's seat on the Supreme Court, I would like to add my mother, Ketanji Brown Jackson of the District Court, to the list. I, her daughter, Layla Jackson, of 11 years old, strongly believe that she would be an excellent fit for the position. She is determined, honest, and never breaks a promise to anyone, even if there are other things she'd rather do. She can demonstrate commitment and is loyal and never brags. I think she would make a great Supreme Court justice, even if the workload will be larger on the court or if you have other nominees. Please consider her aspects for the job. Thank you for listening. Layla Jackson.
And Layla Jackson was 11 years old at the time when she wrote that letter.
Yeah. I noticed Layla didn't bring up how many times her mom had been overturned by the appellate court as a district court judge. But I digress. I'll give the 11-year-old a pass on that.
Okay, thank you.
Charles Blow, writing in the New York Times, an open letter to Joe Biden from a dispirited black voter. Charles Blow is an inveterate race hustler. Super annoying. And this is a perfect example of his work. The column is about a State of the Union address. That would be Biden's. And it's a lot of bedwetting about not being identitarian enough, not deriding police. He's offended, is Charles Blow, that Biden brought up the two New York City police officers who were gunned down recently. He's offended by that. Here's what he writes about Biden's mention of Ketanji Brown Jackson. Once Stephen Breyer got done with his, oh my gosh, me with Sally Field, you like me? You really like me?
This guy?
That was weird. But anyway, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Charles Blow writes, you did hail your Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, even if you didn't point publicly to the historical significance of her being the first black woman nominated. Her blackness and the history of exclusion on the court was left unsaid in the grand chamber. Minor, maybe, but again, I noticed. Some might say that simply because Jackson is black, it was enough to mention her name without directly addressing black people and their interests in the speech. But it doesn't work that way. Symbols, representation, and inclusion are important to me, sure, but they are no substitute for policy and legislation. This is not to disparage Judge Jackson's nomination in any way. It's exhilarating. She is qualified and should be confirmed, and she will be an inspiration for many as well as a needed voice for another perspective on the court. Thank you for nominating her. And then he goes on to complain some more about what Joe Biden isn't doing to serve the identitarian left. Boy, you listen to Charles Blow. If you don't think Joe Biden's approval numbers can go down, all he has to do is follow the Charles Blow blueprint on politics, and he'll be trending towards zero rather quickly. The whole inclusion, it's important to me. She'll be a unique voice on the bench. Not really. I mean, she's just sort of a standard issue leftist jurist. And I mean, we played her remarks when she was introduced to the nation by Biden. Was that a week ago Friday? And they were perfectly sensible and encouraging, actually, because she expressed her love of God and America. She talked about her family, her mom and dad, who are professionals who've been together for 50 years. Her brother, who's a cop. Her uncle was police chief of Miami. I mean, so on and so forth. So sort of an all-American family from somebody who professes a love for America. that alone is remarkable coming from what constitutes the Democrat Socialist Party today as more usually the grievance politics of Charles Blow. For more on this nominee and an assessment of her, pleased to be joined by Ken Masugi. He's a senior fellow at the Claremont Institute, former speechwriter for Clarence Thomas when he was chairman of the EEOC. Ken, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be back.
So how do you size up this nominee, Judge Jackson?
Well, first of all, of course, she was anticipated by Biden's insistence during his campaign, such as it was, that he would nominate a black woman, because that would be a great indication of our progress. Well, what she indicates is that black Americans are really not in need of affirmative action that is at this level, because she really contributes nothing other than being a representative of the administrative state, that is the growing bureaucracy and professionalization of politics that I think has been so damaging to American freedom.
Well, your point is to say that she became a district court judge and then an appellate court judge appointed by or nominated by Biden, confirmed by the Senate.
Right, but
without any of this, without any of these, but without any of these sort of litmus tests of like, we need a black woman for this district court spot, we need a black woman for this appellate court spot. Even if that was your mind's eye, if you're President Biden, the public announcement of it has to be somebody that has these non-behavioral characteristics that have nothing to do with their qualification to be a judge, much less a Supreme Court justice. She got to the precipice without any of that. So why does she need that to get over that threshold into the high court?
Yeah, and if you look at her record, I mean, she's been an appellate court judge for less than a year, and she's issued only 2 opinions. And this hearing is scheduled so far in advance of Breyer's retirement that basically she's grounded on her appellate court work, because she obviously she can't rule as a Supreme Court justice on opinions that might be overturned or would be controversial should they reach the Supreme Court.
But this isn't about. I mean, the idea that this is about an attorney or a judge's jurisprudence. I mean, especially now, maybe it was a little bit more, back when Clarence Thomas was nominated, or a bit prior to that. But I mean, this is basically about where you went to law school and how you present and who your friends are.
Oh yeah, that's a succinct way of putting it. Because but the big possible blotch on her is her work at the Sentencing Commission. At a time when we're concerned with the safety and freedom of Ukrainians, we should be concerned about those same elements here at home. And her work on criminal justice reform is something that ought to be probed, along with other areas of jurisprudence that her work evidently hasn't yet touched.
The Sentencing Commission, the Sentencing Commission, because they're kicking around ideas like eliminating minimum mandatories, stuff like you're seeing at the state level, the city level, big city level, no bail reform type measures and so forth, right?
Yes, exactly. The sorts of things that many police professionals regard as opening up violent behavior.
So do you think she's ready to be a Supreme Court justice?
Well, the Supreme Court is primarily an appellate court.
Right.
Very rarely does it issue decisions on specific cases. That is, cases don't go directly to the Supreme Court. And as we've noted here, she hasn't been an appellate court judge for more than a year. She's issued only 2 opinions. And so we really need, at a minimum, a delayed hearing on her for later in the year after she's issued more opinions.
Although, to be fair, I mean, it was a quick turn for Amy Coney Barrett going from the Seventh Circuit to the High Court as well.
Yeah, but she did issue some opinions, some that are very interesting, like on guns, for example. And so we could see from her publication record, and I don't know that they've advanced any interesting law review articles or other scholarship from her, other than the Sentencing Commission work, which I think is troublesome.
What's your impression of her from public statements as well as her judicial record? Is she going to be more like Sotomayor, who's a sort of a full identitarian political hack, or is she going to be more like Kagan, where it's a little? I mean, she's definitely left, but it's a little harder to pin her down on everything because she does move around a little bit and does a better job, at least, than Sotomayor, in incorporating the law.
Yeah, well, Kagan's would be about as good as we can hope for.
Right.
And again, it's because of her limited judicial role that we can't know that she won't wind up like a Sotomayor, as you characterize her. And I think that would be very bad. You could argue, well, she's so much part of the establishment that maybe she won't be so dangerous. But that's not necessary. That's simply voting for a person or not opposing her on account of a hope. And that's not what senators ought to be doing.
He is Ken Masugi, senior fellow at the Claremont Institute, former speechwriter for Clarence Thomas when Thomas was chairman of the EEOC. Ken, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When I hear realtors boast about servicing a 3-county area or selling a home every 15 minutes, I think, what level of service could their clients possibly be getting? This is